Cheltenham, day 1 and 2. Cheltenham news. The handicap entries, post review. Supreme Novices Hurdle. Aqua Challenge Trophy, the champion hurdle. Big one of the day. Fred Winter Juvenile Hurdle. An Advisory Novice Chase. Annual.
Maybe Vardy's having a party. I think most of the horses have been on the WKDs by the looks of it.
Yeah, right. But 5 cherry rating.
It's 5 cherries on the first race.
It's got to be.
Ding, 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 ding.
Position. And he powered the last race down. And he powered Starman in front of the last left. Melody Light by the first time. They're running up towards the finish. And he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Lockwood. And Hoyt for Archibald. Hardy is the defensive title. But Archibald is flattened out in second. Then he's followed up right by his beginning to power. He's drifting off the true line. Going to win his 4th Betfair Chase. And Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
All right, Cheltenham Festival, guys. Not long to go. Countdown is on. So we've
Less than
got
3
how many
weeks.
weeks? 3 weeks?
2.5, yeah.
2.5?
Yeah, 19 days.
Yes. Block the old diary for that as well. Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's start with day 1. So day 1 is Tuesday, the 11th of March. That's where we'll be there. Let's start with the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Duncan, should we start with you? You need to give a cherries rating for each one of these.
Okay, a cherries rating for each one. I mean, it's
Going to run out of cherries, I
obvious.
reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say 1 to 5 cherry rating. This one will probably be. You got to say it's hard to kind of say it, not say it, but 5 cherry rating. I think,
It's 5 cherries on the first race.
it's got to be.
Ding, ding, ding,
You
ding,
have
ding.
to. Had it not been for the DRF, so the Dublin Racing Festival, when Willie Mullins sent out the now favourite for this race, Kopek de Border, was just ridiculous in terms of the performance he put in that race. He absolutely hosed in. And after the race, they spoke to Willie Mullins, so the trainer for the horse, and they said he'd spoken to Paul Townend, the jockey, and apparently the horse tried to run away with him 3 times. So, it was kind of off the bridle, it was just chomping at the bit, wanted to go. He did that 3 times, and Willie apparently said the horse does that once and they'll lose a race. For the horse to do it 3 times and still hose up like he did, he said it's just unbelievable. And he said he's mind blown by the performance. Couldn't believe it. I can't see. Until that had happened, I thought, okay, it's a fairly openish race, but the performance there was just unbelievable. I don't think there's anything that could stand head and shoulders near that horse.
And why is it so special when they try and pull away from you and they don't? Surely
you're using up
the energy to do that.
The horse is using up the energy, yeah. So the horse wants to go and gallop, but obviously as a jockey, you will kind of want to keep them calm and relaxed and keep them to the tactics that you have. And of course, the more you're trying to then pull them back, it's like if someone like you on a bike, for example, like you want to go out and batter it, but someone's literally got like a rope around you and is like pulling you back. You're using up energy to try and pull away, but you can't. So they're using up copious amounts of energy trying to.
So as you say, do that 3 times, then
exactly, and he's done that 3 times, not once, but 3 times throughout the course of the whole race, and he's still hosed in. So I don't see anything beating that horse.
5 cherries straight off the bat. Day
Got to be a
1.
5 cherry job. 5 cherry job.
Could be a good start, or
cherry's going to be all used up on day 1, first race.
Could be a whole day 1.
I was going to say I'll be in a hole.
El, you've got the same conclusion.
Yeah, could be another 5 cherries, I think, here, mate, for me.
10 cherries.
Remember the 5 cherry train? Boop, boop.
That's 10 cherries.
Yeah, I think I said I think it might have been last week's pod, it must have been the week before when we were reviewing his performance at the DRF. I was absolutely blown away, and I remember saying at the time, I feel like I could be having a right bet on this on the first day, which you don't want to do your cherries too early, but honestly, as Doug said, this horse does everything wrong. He was buzzy, sweating in the paddock. He was keen to post. He was so keen during the race. He ran with a choke out and pulling Paul's arms out the whole time. And you think no horse can sustain that and win, let alone win like he did. He absolutely destroyed them. He has clearly got some engine, the likes of which we might not have seen before, certainly in recent times. He kind of reminds me of when Constitution Hill won the race a couple of years ago as a novice, and he just blew them from the start. Obviously, Constitution Hill hadn't shown that before the race. He has already shown that. I suppose a couple of concerns against it maybe is that he's already peaked for the season, because to do that again would be pretty special. The other thing is, at Cheltenham, it's often spoken about, particularly on that first day and that first race, because you're dealing with novices, i.e. inexperienced horses. The amount of people that are going to be around this horse, the buzz, the noise, even the chants, the roars, in the pre-parade ring, the parade ring, the first race, everyone wants to get and see the horses. Everyone wants to get some photos and videos, and everyone's probably had a few scoops by then as well. The horses have to walk right past all the crowds to get out onto the course, and he's already kind of highly tuned and highly sprung. It is a fairly common thing that those sorts of horses can what's called boiling over and literally
they just get there's too much buzz.
That's the only thing I would be slightly nervous about, but he kind of did a lot of that last time and still blew them apart anyway. I think at the minute he's odds on, because no bookie wants to take money on him yet until they get ready for the day itself. I can see him being at least even money on the day, and I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck their chins out and put super boost and stuff on him, because bookies will be more brave in that first race because they've got 27 races to get it back. And the amount of times where an odds-on horse anti-post lines up as big as 2-1 in the morning.
It's crazy.
So I would be sitting tight now if you're looking at backing him.
Just wait on the day almost. Or...
Don't back him now. 10 to 11, I think he's 10 to 11 on. Don't back him now.
Yeah, okay.
I did have a little look for one each way, because I didn't want us to just keep putting up favourites for the race. And to be honest, I don't really like Salvatore Monday, doesn't jump one enough. Romeo Coolio, I think his form is kind of below what's needed to win this race, even though he was placed in the bumper last year. So the other one I like, Willie's got a whole load of horses in this, so many that are just like either run once or twice and not done a lot. He could have 10 runners if he wanted to. But one that's quite interesting, owned by JP McManus. Now, I've also had an anti-post bet on the New Lion for this race, even though everybody thinks he's going to go to the Turners, which is the slightly longer race on the Wednesday, first race on the Wednesday. He now owns that horse as well, so he's likely to split them up. Willie Mullins has said that this horse that I'm going to tip in a minute could go for either race. So I think between the New Lion and this horse, they'll split. If he does run here, I think Kawabunga, if that's how I pronounce it. Is very interesting. His last start he won quite comfortably, and he beat a horse called William Money, who I was looking through the form, and he actually won today in a listed hurdle.
I watched it
quite comfortably. So
did you see it?
I didn't watch it. I saw
he hosed him, and that's why I'm nodding at what you said, because I saw it and I thought, interesting.
Yeah, so I've just had a bet on him about an hour ago for this race. He's 20 to 1 if you want to go all in and and basically be brave. If you're worried that he might go for the other race, he's 12 to 1 non-run no bet, and I think that's
so you can do anti-post no run no bet. Okay.
Yeah. And
I think that's a great bet, to be fair.
If he runs, if he's declared to run, he will not be anything like those prices. So that's my each way sneak. But 5 cherries for the Kopeck. 5
cherries. Okay, that's 10 cherries to start with. I was also looking at pictures because I was just preparing for the pod a little bit, and the pictures of the Cheltenham Festival just looks insane. Like, it looks like a 80,000 stadium.
Good luck moving around in there.
Yeah. How'd you get
it's literally like penguins assembling when you see on the nature programmes where they're waddling around like that. You can't.
We know the places to get the Guinness without the keys.
Yeah. Maybe we should give a little tip about where to get the Guinness.
No, we don't want to go in. Yeah,
don't worry. The two viewers of this is fine. Right, let's go on to the next one then. Aqua Challenge Trophy.
I was desperate again not to sort of go through this race and each race and just look at the favourites, but I probably haven't gone since Sergino come out. I haven't probably gone through the whole field that's entered at the moment. And when I did, I thought, right, who's going to beat Madgeborough? Who's going to beat Madgeborough? And again, I just struggled. He is the percentage call. Right, he won the Triumph last year at the track. He's looked pretty good over fences, especially last time in Ireland. I would only say the downside is his jumping. He is a little bit deliberate at his fences on occasion, but he's got such an engine that he could probably get away with it. And I think as much as I would like to tip one against him, he is probably the most likely winner. I think the likes of Loda Sue, who's been mopping up kind of average races around here, and Django Bay, again, I just think the form's a little bit below the level needed to win a Grade 1 at Cheltenham. I was about to tip Gidley Park each way, but I checked up on him earlier to see what kind of the trainer might be saying about the race, just in case he wasn't going to run. And he's annoyingly had a setback. He was meant to run on Saturday as his last prep for Cheltenham. The horse had a heart issue earlier in the season. He was so good when he won at Windsor when I was there, and then sadly he's had a setback. So they haven't ruled him out for Cheltenham, but you wouldn't want to be betting on him now.
Not
without knowing he's going. So
yeah.
You know,
when you said you were looking at what the trainer's saying, where do you find that? Did you just find that on social media?
Yeah, social media is a good place to look. Sometimes if you Google the horse and go on news and just look at the most recent
What you want to do is go to Google and type in new.
Yeah. Just ring up the trainer, mate. Just get the number, Yellow Pages. Give him a ring. Give him a bell.
Well, because obviously you've got the Racing Post, you've got At the Races, you've got Sporting Life, you've got Racing TV, you've got all the Irish media companies. Google does a really good job of pinging that to the top of the most recent kind of news. So it will just be if the trainer's quoted something and you've missed it, it's a good way of looking for it. There will be At the Races Racing TV and Sporting Life do a kind of stable tour page. Which most of those should be live now. So most of the big yards will do kind of press days. Nicky Henderson's was this week, for example. Willie Mullins's was last week. So you'll get kind of the top 20 to 30 horses, you'll get a line on each one, and it's never going to be 100% in terms of what target they're going for, but it can help if you're unsure about what they think of a horse or if it's even going to go to Cheltenham.
That's good. Nice little tip. Or just watch this pod and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Stick with
Right, let's go on to... So this is the big one, is it? The Champion Hurdle? Big one of the day?
Yeah.
Is this the main race of the week? Or yes?
Each day has one main race, championship
This
race.
is the main one.
And the
So this is the main one for Tuesday. El, what are you saying?
Yeah, I've noticed, Butters, that they've moved the times around this year. When I was looking at this race,
Yeah,
it used to go Supreme, Arkle, Ultima, Champion Hurdle.
Yeah.
Now it goes those three races, and they've stuck the Mares Hurdle in before, and the Champion Hurdle's now not till 4 o'clock.
It's the same with all the champion races are on at the same time, because I did exactly the same with, I think it was on the Wednesday, and I looked and I thought 3 something, and I was like, why is the main race not here? I think it was the Champion Chase, and I looked and I thought, where is this? And I saw 4 o'clock. I thought that's a bit late.
So I don't know if they're trying to mop up people sort of sneaking off work a bit.
Yeah, get more beers. Get more beers.
Or get more beers in people. But yeah, the Champion Hurdle, I think there's 2 main championship races. Well, 3 main championship races at the festival. Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase and the Gold Cup. The Stairs Hurdle wouldn't really fall under that bracket, even though they tried to make it a championship race. It should be one of the highlights of the festival. In recent years, we've kind of had very short price favourites turning up and walking over the line, so it's not necessarily been the most competitive. This year has the potential to be an absolute classic, with the big 4, as I'm calling them, with the last 2 winners, State Man and Constitution Hill, and then the 2 up-and-coming mares who raced against each other. Although they haven't raced against each other, but they were both in novice races last year, kind of taking on the big boys in Brighter Days Ahead and Lossiemouth. They annoyingly have the option of the Mares Hurdle, which is the race just before the Champion Hurdle, over slightly further. And often the best mare in the country will take what's perceived the easier option to race against her own sex rather than take on the championship race. And we spoke about kind of the mares programme last week. At the moment, Lossiemouth seems to be aimed at the Champion Hurdle. Willie said that straight after her fall last time. The question mark is, so then that's 3 of the big 4. The question mark is over Brighter Days Ahead, who absolutely destroyed State Man at Christmas in the kind of equivalent race they have there at Leopardstown. She does want a bit of a trip, and Michael O'Leary, the owner of Gigginstown, said, we should go for the race she's most likely to win, which obviously would be, she'd be 1 to 2 to win the mares, if not shorter on the day. So, would you take that option, or would you go for glory and potentially finish 3rd in the Champion Hurdle?
Michael wants a payday.
I know, but the comment that was in the Racing Post this week from Gordon, it really sounds like he's tempted. He's never going to have a better chance to win a Champion Hurdle. Most of the horses he gets sent are staying chasers, not speedy 2-mile hurdlers. If you'd have asked me this a few days ago, I'd have said no, she's going to go to the mares, don't even talk about it. But I'm starting to lean towards the fact she might turn up for this race, which would make it an absolute classic, because what she did at Christmas, she had her stablemate, so it was like a pacemaker, a bit like sort of cycling. He went off, gave her a mad gallop, basically sacrificed himself at the front. She could follow him in his slipstream, hair off in front, and it just made it such hard work for the ones in behind, and they were legless. And then when he peeled off, she was left in front, and she could just sort of come home in her own time. If she does,
she doesn't get that though this time. Surely she doesn't have. I don't think there's any.
King of Kingsfield, mate.
Is there another one into?
The same horse. Yeah. So basically,
they literally be in to sacrifice themselves.
Be a pacemaker. Wow. Yeah.
Jesus.
So if he wasn't entered in the race, you'd say, well, they're not going to run it. But so they've had to pay the money to keep him in the race. So they wouldn't keep doing that if they didn't think she was going to run. Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, okay, this could be the one that beats Constitution Hill. However, what he really wants is a really strong pace to aim at, and he hasn't really had it for a long time, apart from that Supreme a few years ago where he absolutely came from the back and destroyed them. Really, her doing that with her pacemaker could absolutely set up an absolute grandstand finish for Constitution Hill. I think he absolutely has we know he has the beaten estate man. He beat Lossiemouth comfortably over Christmas, even though she probably had some excuses. I think if the 4 turn up, it will be a great race. I would really respect Bright Days Ahead because she'll be doing something a bit different and putting him under a lot of pressure. And we don't really know whether he's still got the same ability that he did have because he's had not the hardest races this season. The good thing is we've seen him twice where if he'd gone from Christmas to Cheltenham, I'd be saying don't go near him because he's going to be too short and he's still going to have all this on sort of...
Sorry, don't go near...
Constitution Hill.
Constitution Hill, okay.
Because there's too much uncertainty. I know he had a lap of honour last time at Cheltenham, but that proved to me that apart from absolutely flinging the last and nearly falling over, he still got all the enthusiasm in the world. And it showed to me that he didn't just reappear, win, and then he's going to go back into himself. He came back up pretty soon after and won nicely. So on balance, I would stick with the fact Constitution Hill. But if Brighter Days Ahead turns up, it's going to be a hell of a race.
Okay, good assessment. So Constitution Hill, how many cherries?
Well, we didn't do Madgeborough. I would say 4 cherries for Madgeborough. And I would say, depends who turns up. If Brighter Days Ahead doesn't turn up, I would say 5 cherries. If she does, I would say 4 cherries.
And then Brighter Days Ahead.
Oh, I'm not gonna stick to the British.
So you're sticking to the Constitution Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. But it'd just be a good race, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you'd still do it. Yeah. Duncan, you tend to agree?
Yeah, I think our call shout, I agree. Margeborough, like if you'd had Sergino in there, I think Sergino would have been the clear and obvious one to pick. But now that there's not much left in there, Margeborough, I'd say 4. I'd say the jumping may be the only thing that would stop him from winning. And then again for the champion hurdle, I'm not as sceptical maybe about Constitution Hill's chances. I'd go 5 cherries on Constitution Hill regardless of Bright Days Ahead.
A lot of cherries hanging about.
I just think the horse is insane. Like, it's so good. And I just don't think anything could live up to the Constitution Hill. You know, Bright Days Ahead, I mean, granted, yes.
When was the last time we saw that, though? When was the last time we actually saw that?
Yeah, I agree. But he can only beat what's in front of you, right? He beat Lossiemouth on his return from X amount of time off the track. Apparently, Willie said that Lossie wasn't there, clearly, when they dropped the hammer. Fine, okay, but there's only so much he can do. And then again, obviously, apart from battering the last hurdle at the end, he could have gone and done another circuit. Hendo said afterwards, I've got to work him again tomorrow because he's done so little out there. So he can only beat what's in front of him. And I just think that Brighter Days Ahead was all it was the second coming last year when they went to the champion bumper and then got beaten?
Mayor's Novice.
And got beaten in that. Is she going to enjoy the hill against Constitution Hill, who we know eats the hill for breakfast?
By nature.
I just don't think anything will beat Constitution. If, however, though, I would say if they do decide, and Michael O'Leary does decide to send Bright Days Ahead to the champion hurdle, it would be worth backing Jade de Grugy, potentially, if you like that, for the mares, and won pretty easily.
I meant to back her before the race.
Yeah, so she won today. So for the mares hurdle, which is the race that Brighter Days Ahead is odds-on favourite for, if they then take her out of that and put her into the champion hurdle, what will be the new field. So at the moment, it's Brighter Days Ahead is odds-on. Then you've got Lossiemouth at 5-4. Then Jade de Grugy at best price 3-1. Now, you take those first 2 out, because Lossiemouth's not going to go, apparently. And if Brighter Days Ahead goes, that market completely flattens. And you're going to get...
non-run, no bet, or is that all-in price?
I don't know. I'd have to check. I would definitely... I mean, Ladbrokes are saying 3-1, and I know Ladbrokes are non-runner, no bet, so I'm going to put it out there and probably say yes, 3-1, non-runner, no bet.
Okay, good.
So I would say that could be a shout. And then if Brighter Days Ahead stays in, cash out, because Brighter Days Ahead will just win at the mares.
Cash out.
So you can cover your bases.
All right, I'm excited for that one. Can't wait. So last one then we've got on our list for Tuesday is Fred Winter Juvenile Hurdle. You've got a sneaky one. Sneaky ones are always the ones that come in, and it's just like annoying.
Well, I sent it around to a few people a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, well, seeing as we're doing this, I'd better put it up in front.
Outside the pod, you sent it round.
I tell you what, send me all your numbers. And I'll set up a WhatsApp.
Watch the bloody podcast.
Exactly. But so I was saving it for this. It's still a decent price, so I won't worry about that. But yeah, this is a bit of a putting your chin out, because this race is, who's even going to turn up for this race, let alone who's going to win it. But I have a sneaky feeling this one is being laid out for the race. So the trainer is Joseph O'Brien, son of the great Aidan O'Brien, the flat trainer. He doesn't have as many jumpers as he used to, but he's been flying this season over jumps, with obviously Banbridge and Solness. And he's won this race at least twice in recent seasons. So clearly knows what it takes. He runs a lot of horses over flat and jumps. We spoke about that last week. He kind of dual purpose. And this is a bit of a mad, frantic race to go a crazy gallop. So his horses that are often from the flat have had a lot of experience. So I think that's why he tends to do quite well in this. And he's got a horse of a similar profile. It's owned by Mr. JP McManus, who obviously loves a little sneaky target for the festival. He won it. He won it last year? Was it the year before with Brazil? Something like that.
A couple of years ago, I think it was 23.
Yeah. And he owns this one. So Beyond Your Dreams is the name of the horse. He's had, as I say, quite a few runs on the flat, and his first couple of runs over hurdles looked like the classic, I don't want to win too early on in my career and get too high in the handicap. I'll just sort of come from the back. But then you get to the point where, okay, we need to do something to get even into the race. So then it did duly win its last start over hurdles around Christmas time, and the horse it beat went and won next time out. It is a bit of a flyer. He's 20s all in, anti-post, or 16s non-run no bet. So the safest option is probably to take the 16s, just in case they decide to wait for another race. But I can see if this horse runs, I can see an absolute mad gamble on it. So probably worth getting on that.
Okay, so that's day 1, Tuesday. Let's get on to day 2, Wednesday, 12th of March. Duncan, should we start with the Brown Advisory Novice Chase? What are you saying?
Yeah, it's going to be another boring one for me because it's going to be the favourite, Ballyburn. Again, looking at what's going there, I mean, to be fair, it is a fairly competitive race, but Ballyburn for me is kind of the only real kind of exertion he's had was against Sergino at Kempton, and that was over 2 miles, which is just too short for him. This horse wants a distance, as he proved from running in the Turners last year, which is 2.5 miles, and he romped home in that, and we were both on board at even money, which was unbelievable. I just think that the bigger the distance this horse has, the better the horse will get. So he recently ran, I think, in a Grade 1 over in the DRF and promptly hosed up in that, and he just got better as the further they went, and he's stepping up in trip again to 3 miles in this. I don't see anything is going to live with him when it comes to the end coming up the hill at 3 miles. I just think he'll, again, another horse that will just lap it up, eat the ground, and see you later on.
So that hill is super important.
I think 2 to 1 is actually quite a decent price. I think you can still potentially get 2 to 1, 7 to 4.
I couldn't see any 2 to 1.
Is it 2 to 1?
I couldn't see any.
So I would say that is still a decent bet. There's still other good horses around it, but I don't see anything living with Ballyburn when it comes to that home turn and coming up the hill.
Yeah, you agree with that?
What's the cherries?
Can't open with 2-5 cherry jobs on 2 days in a row.
Hey, it's a free country.
To be fair, out of the races that we're looking at so far, like for that day, I think that would be a 5 cherry job.
It's a cherry machine, this guy.
Yeah.
He's left, right, centre. Right.
Yeah.
I would also echo Duncan's comments. I'm a big fan of Ballyburn, so I would probably not go 5. I might go 4.5 cherries. Well, sort of stupidly, I saw a horse that he's running in this race run today called High Class Hero, also trained by Willie Mullins, and it was like 1 to 2 to win. And I always do this thing where I'm like, well, if it wins well, it'll be half the price for the race at Cheltenham. So we got on at 20s. So some bookies are a bit clever to this now. So Bet365 suspended betting on that horse for the Cheltenham race. Because it's running, you don't know what's going to happen. That's what they should do. But William Hill hadn't, so I thought I'm going to punish them and got on at 20s. But then he won, but he didn't win like massively well. So then 365 went out to 33s, and I got on at 20s.
Murder.
That is punting, baby.
So,
yeah, I'd love it if High Class Hero wins.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not.
But yeah, anyway, moving on to the Cheltenham Chase. So this is the feature race of Wednesday. It was looking like a bit of a good race a few weeks ago, but after the DRF where Al Fabiolo tipped up at like the second fence, Illic Warrior, who just doesn't seem to like Leopardstown, crawled home and just didn't look himself at all. We had the likes of Banbridge in here, who's now seemingly going to the Gold Cup, and Ile Francais could still go here, but there's a lot of talk about him going to the Ryanair. You suddenly look through this race and you think, what's gonna challenge John Bon?
Yeah.
I didn't want to tip another favourite, and I just have this sneaky feeling about John Bon not winning the Cheltenham Chase. That is just pure feel, and that race has been a graveyard for favourites The likes of Defi de Soy, obviously Alfab didn't win it last year. Duvan was beaten in it. Shishkin stopped at the start, didn't complete in it. So for whatever reason, it just has a bit of a graveyard kind of feel about it, and I feel like it's set up for another one of them. Trying to find what that kind of shock is, I'm not so sure. I was watching a video, as you were saying, the stable tours from Willie's last week. He was asked about Gaelic Warrior. He didn't really say a lot other than he could go for either race. I feel like he will go here because he'll probably send Al Fabiolo out to the Ryanair. If he lines up on the day and is not a silly price, I would back him because of what he did in the Arkle last year when he was so crap at Leopardstown and he looked like a machine at Cheltenham, and you just sort of trust Willie. I wouldn't back him now because, one, I don't know if he's even going, and I wouldn't take the price he is. So one I thought that was an absolute solid...
Sorry, just to recap, so that's Gaelic Warrior, yeah?
Yeah, if he runs, but I don't even know if he's going to run. So I would sort of be a...
Cherries on that, if he runs?
3.
Oh, okay.
That's generous.
2.5 to 3.
Really into that, what you will. Okay.
But I think this next one is an actual serious, good punting bet, because it could be quite a small field by the time we get to the day. And we spoke about Solness a couple of times on the podcast already, where he's kind of shocked everyone winning 2 Grade 1s. I don't see him going and winning this and being as good at Cheltenham. And everybody knows what he does now. He just bombs out in front. But he's still 10 to 1 to win this race when, you look at Gaelic Warriors might not run, Albert Fabiolo's not going to run, Ile Francais might not run, Banbridge isn't going to run, and you suddenly think, well, he is definitely going to run, so he's not going to be 10 to 1 on the day. So it's called a bit of each way thievery, where you just know a horse is going to go somewhere. You think it's almost certainly going to finish in the top 3. You're basically backing 2 to 1 a place. I think Solness is a cracking each way bet, and he's not without a chance of winning, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And then I was trying to look for another sneaky one, and a horse I know Ruby's tipped up for the race a while ago. Didn't quite get the job done in the Game Spirit Chase at Newbury recently, but Liberty Hunter is currently 33 to 1, non-run no bet 40 to 1, all in. He is also entered in the Grand Annual though. He has won at Cheltenham before, so he does like the course. So if you liked him each way, I'd take the 33's non-run no bet in case he runs in the other race. But again, he wouldn't be as big a price as that on the day if he does run.
Okay. You agree, Duncan?
Yeah, I'm literally just having a look at Solness now. It's 11 to 1 for non-runner no bet, but I don't think he's entered anywhere else anyway. So I think
take the 11s.
I think that's a great bet. 11 to 1. So I'm literally pressing pay on that one. So I've just taken 11 to 1 about
live on the pod.
Live bet.
Yeah, because exactly what Elle said.
Gamble responsibly.
John Bond technically, looking at it, should win, but he's been there a couple of times and flopped a couple of times. But then you're like, what is going to beat him? Like I said, Gaelic's not going. I don't think Gaelic goes personally, based on what Willie said after the last race when he said he hit a major.
He likes a runner in this, so that's the only thing apart from a Nergamine, who's absolutely
yeah. There's nothing else that I really, apart from Solness, which obviously we've seen and just seems to just kind of run away with races. Whether or not that's just, but John Bond will probably like that as a tactic. Let someone bowl out in front and then he can just follow in behind. But I don't think there's anything else in there. Gaelic for me shouldn't go. I think he needs further because Willie was saying at the race at the Dublin Racing Festival he hit a major flat spot and Paul nearly pulled him up, and then apparently the horse got going again. So I'm just thinking it's 2.5 miles a better distance for him where he can kind of get a bit of a breather into him and then go again. I just think the 2 miles maybe just too sharp for him. Ile Francais again won't go here. I don't think. I think he'll go Ryanair or Gold Cup. Marine Nationale. I mean, to be fair, I would not. I think that would be quite a hell of a story because Marine Nationale is obviously Michael O'Sullivan, who we talked about earlier on, the jockey that sadly passed away last week, rode Marine Nationale to the Supreme Novice Hurdle win a couple of years ago. And what a touch of class that would be if that horse comes in and wins the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. The stories and the film kind of setting, that would be quite a magical thing.
Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. It would be a proper Hollywood story. But I think for me, Solness is a decent bet at 11s, as we just said. So, but it's John Bonds to lose, basically, in my opinion.
John Bonds to lose, but Solus are good each way. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Right, Coral Cup. I'm interested in this one. The old Joya machine.
Comes back to the old nap of last week.
The old nap of last week, which is now carried over to the nap of this week for Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So, Duncan, you're still on that?
I don't know about a nap, but it's definitely, I think, as we kind of mentioned earlier on. Yeah. It just feels like, again, the handbrake was on. It's Cheltenham, baby. And Dan Skelton has had a horse the last 2 years called Langer Dan, which he has sent to this race after having been crap all through the winter, and has kind of said, oh, this horse doesn't run well in the winter. When it hits the spring, summertime, this is when this horse really shows what he can do. And then sure enough, gets to Cheltenham and the horse fucking bolts up in the Coral Cup every time, because he has run in about 3 or 4 races leading up to it, run shit, got a reduced mark, and then has run off. He's got into the Coral Cup to be able to run in it, and then has duly won.
I like it. I'm warming to
I mean, it's brilliant, and people are slating him like mad. But if you can do it and get away with it, fair enough.
It's all right if you're on it.
Yeah, exactly. Which we've luckily been, so it's been great. But yeah, I think Joy Machan again is in this race off 135, so he should sneak in at a very, very low weight. They do have Langadan still entered in this race, although I thought, from what I'd heard, he was supposed to be going for the stayers instead. But the fact he's entered still in this off a mark of 158, whether or not they keep him in, but if who knows? But I just think Joy Machan will love the trip, will love the hill, and hopefully the Skelton's let the handbrake off this time, and we can all enjoy a 16 to 1. I've taken both 16s and 20s, so 20 to 1 anti-post. So if he doesn't run for whatever reason, I don't get my money back. But I also took 16 to 1, non-runner, no bet, so I will get my money back if he doesn't run there. So
look forward to watching Hose Up the Hill.
Hose up the hill.
Hose up the hill.
Hashtag Hose up the hill.
Hashtag Hose Up the Hill. 5 cherries? 5 cherries?
No, I don't think you can do a Coral Cup with 5 cherries on it.
He's backtracking.
I'd say 4 cherries. I think 4 cherries. 4 cherries at 2016 is a pretty decent one.
That's true.
You know, there's always going to be, but again, I think nearer the time, it would be good to kind of get a bigger, kind of a good view of when the weights are out. You can kind of see where they sit in there. But yeah, at the moment, Joy Machan will be the one. All
right, last one then, Grand Annual. Elliot?
Yeah, this is the handicap chase over 2 miles. The reason why I put this up is I was looking at the Aqua for a sneaky one each way, and this is a horse I quite like. He's been running in the main sort of graded races for novices, but he's ended up having 4 runs, so quite experienced for a novice going into Cheltenham. And you now need 4 runs over fences before you're allowed to run in the handicaps at Cheltenham, which he has now done. So actually, I don't think he'll run in the Arkle. I think Gordon Elliott's Touch Me Not will run in the Grand Annual instead. And the handicap weights come out next week, as I said earlier, so probably need to wait to see what mark he's given for it, because I think if the handicapper goes mad, Gordon Elliott might not run for that. He might go for the Arkle, but he's currently 12 to 1 anti-post, so that's an each way bet. But if you're worried that he might not run, he is 8 to 1 non-run, no bet. But that is, again, another horse I can see being sort of 7 to 2, 4 to 1 favourite on the day. Touch Me Not for the Grand Annual.
Tell you what, anti-post betting sort of makes sense at Cheltenham, doesn't it? It takes all the fun out of it.
You can't get them all right, but
yeah,
there's sometimes where you can be sitting on decent money.
Yeah. Well, you're leaving a lot on the table, really. If you've done your research and you're really behind a horse, then why wouldn't you go for it now?
Well, classic example of this, very quickly, is that a champion hurdle a few years ago, I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2019 or 2020, a horse called Espoir d'Allen for JP McManus. I know, yeah, what a touch. We went through, I think between us, we went for the champion hurdle, and we were like, because this is where it works in your favour, is if you're pretty confident based on all you've read and heard that X horse isn't going to run in the race, but they still have to have a price just in case they do, because it's still entered, then that means that the horses further down that you definitely know are going to run are bigger prices as a result. So if you've got a horse that you know is definitely running because the trainer said that's the only target, we're definitely going for that, then that's where you can make a bit of an edge. So we had this horse at 25 to 1, Espoir d'Allen, who was definitely going for the champion hurdle, and there was 4 or 5 horses ahead of him in the market that you just knew were going to go for other races or not go to Cheltenham at all. And sure enough, it was a small field on the day, and I don't know what price he went off, maybe 10, 12 to 1, so at least half the price of what he was anti-post. And he only went and won by half the bloody track as well. So I think it was me, Dad, Duncan, and one other guy in the whole stand at Cheltenham going absolutely berserk as he romped up the hill. But I only had that bet to nick a bit of each way money. And it just shows that it's a good little system to get ahead.
I like the system. Right, cheers, guys. So that's day 1, day 2. We'll do one more week, which is day 3 and 4. Cool. Sounds good.
We'll do a special nearer the time as well.
And then we'll do one on the day, won't we? Because we'll be there. So we apologise in advance for
podcast live.
The exclusives. Thanks, guys. Cheltenham, we've done. day 1 and 2 we've done this weekend. So that's a wrap. Thanks for watching another episode of Tailedoff, or listening, depending on the platform that you use. Let us know what you're enjoying, what you want to hear more about. If you like it, then share with your friends, share with your family, and message us on tailedoffpod@gmail.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tailed Off, or go to Instagram. And we're back on X, which is good. We're back on X. So thanks guys for listening. Until next time, have fun, be smart, race hard, and try not to be tailed off. Cheers guys.
See you later.
Cheers.
Position, Annie Power at the last flies down. Annie Power has gone but in front of the last left. Melody Light by the first time. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely. Roger Lockwood and Hoyt Floyd.
From Archibald, Hardy who's got defensive title. From Archibald who's flattened out in second. Then in front, right is beginning to he's drifting off a true line. He's fire, and this was coming home. When he's fourth bet there, Chase.